Welcome to AMD Radeon RAMDisk. In this video, we're going to talk about how to use RAMDisk for secure internet browsing. We're going to configure RAMDisk for the optimal security settings for internet browsing. We're going to start off by going to the RAMDisk configuration utility. Okay, these are the default settings when you first install the software. We're going to make a couple minor changes to that to optimize for security. First off, we're going to change the size to about 260 megabytes. And you'll see why we selected that size in a minute. We're also going to go over here to the Options tab, and we're going to select Clear RAMDisk Memory on Exit. And the reason we're going to do that is that's going to provide even higher levels of security that I'm going to explain in just a moment. Okay, with those two settings changed, we're just going to go ahead and start the RAMDisk. Now, immediately that's going to pull up the autoplay dialog saying it found new disk, and it's disk F in this case. In your system, it may be a different drive letter. Please note what drive letter it is because we're going to need that information later. Okay, so now we're done with that, and we're also done with the RAMDisk configuration utility. We no longer need to enter this utility every time we boot because RAMDisk automatically starts in the background and creates the drive and applies the settings that you've used in Internet Explorer or whatever your web browser is. And we're going to get to those settings right now. So we can close this out and go to your internet browser, and we're going to go to Tools, Internet Options, and that's going to pull up this dialog box. We're going to focus on the Browsing History section. So in general, we're going to want to select Delete Browsing History on Exit, which is good security. However, it's not foolproof. Because hard drives and even SSDs use the operating system's file system, it actually just marks those areas as deleted. It doesn't really go through and actually overwrite the data. And in the case of a hard drive, even if it did overwrite the data, it still has a shadow copy underneath that can be recovered forensically. So we're going to actually invoke that setting, but know that we need to make some more changes to make this absolutely secure. So we're going to click on the Settings tab. Now, this shows our default settings, which shows a fairly small amount of disk space to be used for caching. And we're going to leave that size the same because we don't want to use up too much memory for this because we're really not using this to speed up your internet experience. We're using this for security reasons. So what we're going to do is go ahead and start off by moving the folder. Now, we see a list of disks that we can use. And remember, we noted that in this system, it's drive F that we created. So we're going to select that as our disk drive for our temporary internet files. Now, so what's going to happen is when we run this Windows Explorer window, we're going to have all of our history, all the files and icons and everything else will be saved to the temporary internet files, and then it'll actually be cleared by internet security after we exit, which is great because it'll clear it out of memory. But as we just mentioned, it'll actually be using the file system to do that, so it's just going to mark it as cleared. Now the neat thing is, remember in RAMDisk we selected that we wanted to clear the contents on exit. So that means that in the memory of the system, we actually overwrite that area with zeros prior to shutting down the RAMDisk. So that absolutely erases any trace of your internet history or browsing history that you have on your computer. There is absolutely no way to recover that once that's been invoked. So this is the most secure settings you could possibly have on your internet browser. Okay, so we just say OK to this, and it will change our location to the F drive that we selected earlier. It'll prompt you to log out and then log back in. Okay, so now we've configured RAMDisk to work with Internet Explorer to provide the most secure browsing session you can possibly have. Thanks again, and check back for more videos.